There comes a moment in life when the fear you hold inside becomes heavier than the challenges outside. The unknown isn't your enemy, it's the very doorway to everything your heart secretly desires. The greatest breakthroughs, the deepest peace, and the most extraordinary experiences exist only beyond the walls of fear. When you dare to step into the unseen, you meet a version of yourself you never knew existed. When you stop fearing the unknown, you finally allow life to move you instead of your doubts controlling you. Growth never happens inside a comfortable cage where everything is already decided. New paths, new skills, new versions of yourself only rise when you take a step into unfamiliar territory. You learn more in uncertainty than comfort could ever teach. Fear exists mostly as a story in your mind, constantly projecting worst outcomes that never happen. It traps you inside imaginary walls, making possibilities look like threats. When you question those fears and expose them to reality, they collapse. The unknown is not danger, it is simply a place your mind has not yet explored. Everything meaningful in life has come from stepping beyond what was known. Every invention, every achievement, every transformation began with someone walking into uncertainty without guarantees. The future you desire is not waiting in the safe zones you already understand. It lives in the very places you hesitate to go. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is movement despite fear. The moment you take action, fear begins to shrink because motion gives you power. Curiosity can become your guide, replacing fear with the excitement of discovering what might work, what might grow, and what might completely change your life. Not knowing keeps you awake, humble, and open to new wisdom. By embracing uncertainty, you expand who you are. You stop living as a fixed identity shaped only by the past, and you begin evolving into the person you are capable of becoming. The unknown isn't here to scare you, it is here to show you a bigger life, a stronger self, and deeper possibilities than your fear ever allowed you to see. When you stop fearing the unknown, the mind loses its false authority over your life. Fear is a story your thoughts keep repeating, a fiction built from assumptions and memories. It makes shadows look like monsters and possibilities look like risks. The moment you choose to stop believing every fear your mind creates, you break the cage that never truly existed. Uncertainty is not a threat, it is the natural space where life unfolds. Everything new, everything beautiful, everything transformative comes from what you cannot predict. When you cling only to what is familiar, life becomes small and repetitive. But when you loosen your grip and allow the unfamiliar, you invite growth, opportunity, and a deeper intelligence than your fears could ever comprehend. Fear thrives on hesitation. If you stay still, fear becomes louder. But when you act, even with trembling hands, fear starts to dissolve. Action is powerful because it reveals reality. Most fears collapse when confronted because they were never as big as the mind claimed. Every step into the unknown exposes strength you never acknowledged in yourself. Curiosity can replace anxiety if you shift the question from, what if it goes wrong, to, what if it becomes amazing? The unknown is filled with endless outcomes, and fear always chooses the worst one. Curiosity chooses discovery, expansion, and surprise. When curiosity leads, fear follows quietly behind, unable to interrupt the journey. Walking into the unknown reshapes your identity. You stop being limited by your past and begin becoming who you are meant to be. A bigger world appears the moment you stop letting fear draw the boundaries of your life. The unknown isn't darkness waiting to harm you, it is a vast open sky waiting to reveal how high you can truly rise. The unknown is the true home of possibility, because everything extraordinary lies outside what you already understand. What is familiar may feel safe, but it also keeps life predictable and limited. When you step into uncertainty, you enter a field where imagination can turn into reality, where ideas are allowed to evolve into achievements. There is no innovation in repetition, only in the unexplored does greatness find its space to grow. Every breakthrough humanity has ever witnessed was born from someone's willingness to walk into the unseen. The world changes because certain individuals refuse to stay trapped within the boundaries of what is known. They challenge norms, take risks, and trust a path that no one has walked before. Their courage becomes the foundation of progress, proving that uncertainty is not a barrier, but a gateway. Success is rarely planned with perfect certainty. It comes from experimenting, failing, adjusting, and moving forward despite not having all the answers. Those who fear the unknown wait for clarity before acting and often lose the moment. Those who embrace it act first and refine their steps along the way. Uncertainty doesn't block success, hesitation does. Personal transformation also requires stepping into what feels unclear or uncomfortable. You cannot become a stronger version of yourself while clinging to the security of who you were yesterday. Growth demands that you confront the unfamiliar parts of your own potential. Only by moving beyond the limits of your comfort zone do you discover how powerful and adaptable you truly are. When you trust the unknown, life expands. Opportunities that you could never predict appear, connections you never expected form. A future far greater than your imagination begins to unfold. The unknown is not empty space, it is possibility waiting for your first step. Your future does not exist in the places you have already mastered. Everything you want, everything you dream of, everything you are capable of becoming waits on the other side of the fears that hold you still. The moment you step toward what frightens you, the path to your future starts revealing itself. Standing in what is familiar only repeats the past. Moving toward the unknown builds the future. Hesitation creates distance between you and the life you desire. Every time you pause because of fear, you silently choose limitation. Fear whispers that staying where you are is safer, but safety without progress slowly turns into frustration. The future does not reward the ones who wait for courage, it honors the ones who move even while courage is still forming inside them. Your fears are not signs to stop, they are proof that you are standing on the edge of expansion. When you feel resistance, it means life is pushing you toward a bigger version of yourself. The mind will try to protect you with doubt, but protection and growth cannot exist together. To reach the future you want, you must challenge the walls your fears have built around you. Action shapes destiny far more than certainty ever could. When you take a step into what you do not yet understand, you open doors that were invisible from a distance. You learn, you adapt, and you grow into someone who can handle what once felt impossible. Movement awakens opportunities that fear tried to hide from you. Your future is calling not from comfort, but from possibility. It waits in untraveled roads, in bold decisions, and in the courage to try before you feel ready. Every dream you carry is a message from the future asking you to trust what you cannot yet see. When you stop fearing the unknown, you stop delaying the life that is meant to be yours. Trusting yourself is the moment you stop giving fear the authority to dictate who you can become. Doubt reminds you of every past mistake, every failure and every insecurity, but your inner wisdom knows there is much more within you than what has already been lived. When you place faith in your intuition instead of your fear, you stop letting the past define your future. You begin choosing possibility over limitation and strength over hesitation. Your inner voice speaks from a place deeper than logic or memory. It comes from the part of you that has survived every challenge, learned every lesson, and still pushes you forward. Doubt tries to convince you that uncertainty is danger, but your inner guidance understands that uncertainty is growth. When you listen to that inner signal, even if it feels irrational, you tap into a source of clarity that fear can never access. Self-trust builds courage in silence. It doesn't require applause or permission because it is rooted in your own existence. You do not need approval from the world to take the next step in your life. Every time you trust yourself instead of waiting for reassurance, you strengthen the very foundation that carries you through struggle. Confidence is not something you find, it is something you create by choosing your own direction. Doubt becomes loud when you remain still. The more you wait, the more reasons your mind will create to hold you back. But the moment you move, doubt loses its grip. Action proves to you that you are capable, resourceful, and stronger than the noise within. Even small steps can silence the part of your mind that insists on limitations. Life rewards those who dare to trust their inner compass. When you stop letting doubts make decisions for you, opportunities appear that were invisible before. A powerful shift happens, you no longer chase certainty, you become certain. Self-trust turns the unknown into a path instead of a threat, and every step you take affirms that you were always meant to lead your own evolution. The unknown challenges you because it demands real courage instead of imagined confidence. When you stand at the edge of something new, every part of your mind tries to pull you back to safety. Your heart beats faster, your thoughts become louder, and the fear of failure rises like a wall. But in that same moment, strength that has been sleeping inside you begins to wake. Real courage does not appear when everything is clear, it appears when you move even though doubt screams at you to stop. At the beginning of every great transformation, the body trembles and the voice shakes. This discomfort is not a sign of weakness, but proof that you are crossing the boundaries of who you were. Struggle is simply the doorway to evolution. Nothing valuable ever comes without a moment of fear, and nothing powerful ever grows from total comfort. When you step into uncertainty despite your fear, you prove to yourself that you are larger than the limitations you once believed. The fear of the unknown is actually a test designed to reveal your true potential. Strength is not something you gain by avoiding challenges, it is something you uncover by confronting them. Every step forward you force yourself to take becomes a reminder that you can endure, adapt, and rise above anything that tries to shrink you. The unknown takes away the illusions you hide behind and shows you the depth of your resilience. People who seem confident are not fearless, they have learned that fear cannot stop them anymore. They have stood in the same discomfort, felt the same uncertainty, and still moved forward until their courage became stronger than their doubt. They realized that the unknown is not a threat but a mirror, reflecting the greatness they were too scared to see. It is in the middle of struggle that you meet the version of yourself capable of greatness. Every courageous act reshapes who you believe you are. The shaking legs, the uneasy breath, and the uncertain mind are not signs to step back, they are signs that you are transforming. When you choose to advance even while afraid, the unknown stops being a battlefield and becomes the place where your strength rises and your future unfolds. Action has the power to silence fear because fear survives only in stillness. When you wait, worries multiply and the mind invents new reasons to stay where you are. Movement interrupts that cycle. Even a single step forward forces fear to face reality, and reality is rarely as frightening as the imagination. The moment you act, the mind can no longer control the narrative with uncertainty. You replace assumptions with experience, and that creates inner strength. Every time you move despite fear, you build evidence that you are capable of handling more than you believed. Confidence does not arrive before action, it grows because of action. People who are seen as bold are not born fearless, they have simply learned that progress always begins with imperfect steps. They take risks, they make mistakes, and in that process, they discover abilities fear tried to hide from them. Staying motionless gives fear unlimited power, but movement creates momentum, and momentum creates transformation. Once you begin, each step becomes easier than the one before, because you have already defeated the hardest part, starting. Fear loses control as soon as you prove that you can take action without its permission. You reclaim authority over your life by refusing to pause where uncertainty appears. Movement is also a declaration of self-belief. It means you trust yourself enough to learn on the way rather than waiting for perfection before you even begin. When you act, you tell the world and yourself that your future matters more than your fear. You shift from reacting to life to shaping it, from imagining outcomes to creating them. Life rewards those who move. A path that was invisible yesterday becomes clear today simply because you stepped forward. Doors open, opportunities appear, and new strengths rise from within. The unknown stops being something you fear and transforms into territory you are ready to conquer. Every step into action expands your world and proves that fear was never the real obstacle, standing still was. Fear is a natural response, but it grows only when you remain frozen in place. The longer you wait, the louder it becomes and the more convincing its lies seem. Every hesitation strengthens its grip, making the unknown appear larger and more threatening than it actually is. When you choose to move, even the smallest step, you challenge the illusion and force fear to confront reality, which is rarely as frightening as your mind imagines. Movement creates momentum, and momentum breaks the cycle of doubt. One small action leads to another, and suddenly what seemed impossible begins to feel achievable. Each step forward reshapes your confidence, proving that you are capable of handling challenges you once thought were beyond your limits. Fear begins to shrink in the presence of proof, and action provides that proof in real time. The act of moving transforms your inner world more than any reassurance or plan ever could. Fear thrives on imagination, but reality responds to action. When you do something tangible, your mind no longer has the power to trap you in endless what-ifs. Instead, you see the results of your courage immediately, and your sense of control grows stronger than the anxiety that tried to dominate you. Taking action also rewires your perception of the unknown. Each time you step forward, uncertainty stops being a threat and starts becoming a field of possibility. You begin to understand that challenges are not walls meant to stop you, but thresholds designed to awaken your potential. Fear diminishes because you are no longer defined by avoidance, you are defined by your willingness to engage, explore, and endure. Consistency in movement turns fear into a teacher rather than an enemy. The more you practice taking steps despite apprehension, the smaller fear becomes and the larger your world expands. Action reveals resilience, uncovers hidden strength, and transforms hesitation into progress. What once paralyzed you now propels you forward, proving that the unknown is never truly dangerous. It only becomes threatening if you refuse to move. Uncertainty forces the mind to let go of rigid control and opens a space for deeper understanding. When you stop expecting life to be predictable, you start seeing patterns and truths that were hidden before. Not knowing what will happen next makes you pay attention, notice subtleties, and listen to insights that certainty often blinds you to. Every moment becomes richer because you are fully present, aware that each choice matters and each experience teaches something essential. The unknown humbles you because it shows that no matter how much you plan, you are never in full control. Pride and arrogance lose their grip when life reminds you that outcomes are not guaranteed. In this space, you learn to respect the power of circumstances and the wisdom of timing. Humility is not weakness, it is clarity, the recognition that growth happens when you surrender to what you cannot fully dictate. Being uncertain also sharpens your alertness. When everything is unknown, the senses become alive, noticing opportunities, dangers and nuances that were invisible in comfort. The mind becomes agile, capable of adapting to shifting circumstances with intelligence and creativity. Each challenge is no longer a threat but a signal, a chance to understand life and yourself more deeply. Uncertainty teaches patience and resilience. When you cannot see the full path ahead, you must learn to trust the process, to navigate moment by moment without losing balance. Each step forward, even in doubt, strengthens your ability to endure difficulty and recognize the value of perseverance. You grow capable of facing challenges that would have overwhelmed a mind accustomed to control. When you embrace uncertainty, you become open to the miraculous. Life begins to offer solutions, insights and opportunities that could never have been predicted. What initially feels like risk transforms into possibility, and every unexpected turn becomes a teacher. The unknown is not a void to fear, but a field of wisdom that cultivates presence, humility, resilience, and the capacity to receive life at its deepest level. The unknown has the power to reshape your sense of self because it challenges every limitation you have ever accepted. When you remain in familiar patterns, your identity becomes fixed, defined by old habits, past experiences, and the expectations of others. Stepping into what you do not yet understand forces you to confront parts of yourself that have remained dormant, revealing hidden strengths, untested resilience, and untapped potential that your comfort zone could never expose. Life will never promise certainty, but it always offers possibility. The unknown isn't darkness, it is a blank canvas waiting for your colors. So open the door even if your hands tremble. Once you step through, you'll realize the unknown you feared was the future you always wanted.